She was a queen, crowned in silk, draped in royal colors, perfumed with myrrh, jewels resting against her skin. When she walked through the palace halls, servants bowed. When she spoke, officials listened. When she entered a room, the air shifted. She was queen of the greatest empire on earth. But no one knew her secret. Her name was Esther. In the language of Persia, she was known as Esther, but that was not the name she was born with. She was born Hadassah, a Jewish girl, an orphan, raised not in a palace, but in exile. Her story begins far from the throne. After the fall of Jerusalem, many Jews were taken captive to Babylon. Later, under Persian rule, they remained scattered across a vast empire stretching from India to Ethiopia. The empire was ruled by King Ahasuerus, known in history as Xerxes I. His capital was Susa, and it was in Susa that Hadassah lived. She had lost both parents. Scripture does not tell us how, only that she was fatherless and motherless, in a foreign land, under foreign rule, with a foreign language in her ears. But she was not alone. Her cousin Mordecai had taken her as his own daughter. Mordecai was not a priest, not a prophet, not a general. He was an ordinary Jewish man serving at the king's gate. He raised Hadassah quietly, faithfully. He taught her the stories of Abraham, of Moses, of deliverance. He taught her who she was. But one day, the palace doors opened. King Ahasuerus had hosted a lavish banquet, days of drinking, feasting, and spectacle. In his pride, he summoned his queen, Vashti, to display her beauty before drunken nobles. She refused. Her refusal cost her the crown. A royal decree went out across the empire. Gather the most beautiful young virgins, bring them to Susa, prepare them. The king will choose a new queen. It sounded like a fairy tale. It was not. It was not a romance. It was a royal selection process in which young women had no choice. And Hadassah was taken, not invited, taken. Carried from the quiet of her home into the machinery of empire. Mordecai walked her as far as he could. He gave her one instruction: do not reveal your people. Do not reveal you are a Jew. So Hadassah entered the palace with a new name, Esther, a Persian name, a concealed identity. For a year she underwent beautification treatments, oil of myrrh, perfumes, cosmetics, preparation. One by one, the women went to the king, one night each. And when Esther's turn came, she did not demand attention. She did not manipulate. She did not strive. She asked for nothing beyond what the king's eunuch advised. And when she stood before the throne, the king loved her more than all the others. She was crowned queen. From orphan to royalty, from exile to empire, from hidden girl to public figure. But she carried a secret beneath her crown. She was Jewish, and in that empire, that secret could cost her everything. Meanwhile, outside the palace walls, a different story was unfolding. A man named Haman rose to power. Haman was promoted above all other officials. The king commanded that all should bow before him. All, except Mordecai. Mordecai would not bow. He would not kneel. He would not pretend that a man deserved the reverence owed to God alone. Haman noticed, and rage consumed him. But he did not seek revenge against one man. He sought annihilation. When he discovered Mordecai was a Jew, he plotted not just to kill Mordecai, but to destroy all Jews in the empire, from young to old, women and children, in a single day. He cast lots, poor, to determine the date, and then he went to the king, with flattery, with half-truths. With a certain people scattered and separated, their laws are different. He never said the word Jew. The king handed him his signet ring. The decree was sealed. Throughout the empire, a message was sent. On the 13th day of the 12th month, the Jews were to be destroyed, plundered, erased. In Susa, confusion spread. In Jewish homes, mourning erupted. Mordecai tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, cried aloud at the city gate. Esther heard about it, but from inside the palace, she did not know why. She sent garments. He refused them. Finally, through messengers, he told her everything: the decree, the date, the coming massacre. And then came the request: go to the king, plead for your people. From the outside, it seemed simple. She was queen, but Persian law was absolute. Anyone who approached the king without being summoned would be put to death unless the king extended the golden scepter. And Esther had not been summoned in 30 days. Silence can be dangerous in a palace. She sent word back: if I go uninvited, I die. And Mordecai's reply still echoes through history. Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? That sentence landed heavy. For such a time as this. All the hidden years, all the preparation, all the positioning, all the favor. Was it random or was it providence? The book of Esther never explicitly mentions the name of God, not once, and yet his fingerprints are everywhere. An orphan becoming queen, a refusal to bow, a sleepless king, a reversed decree. Providence moves quietly. Esther faced a choice: safety or sacrifice, comfort or courage, silence or intercession. She sent her answer: go gather all the Jews in Susa, fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days. I and my attendants will fast as you do. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. That is courage, not the absence of fear, but obedience in spite of it. For 3 days the city fasted, no food, no water, just desperation rising to heaven. On the 3rd day, Esther put on her royal robes. Imagine her hands as she dressed. Imagine the weight of the crown. Imagine walking down corridors that might lead to death. The throne room doors opened. The king sat on his throne. She stepped forward, uninvited. Silence. Every eye watching. Would the scepter rise, or would guards seize her? The king saw her, and he extended the golden scepter. Grace. She touched the tip. He asked, "What is it, Queen Esther? Even up to half my kingdom it shall be given to you." But she did not blurt out the accusation. Wisdom often walks with courage. She invited the king and Haman to a banquet, then another. She created space, tension, timing. Meanwhile, Haman's pride swelled. He boasted to his friends of his power, his invitation to dine with the king and queen. But every time he saw Mordecai refusing to bow, his joy turned to fury. He built a gallows 75 feet high to hang Mordecai. That very night, the king could not sleep. Insomnia. So he ordered the royal chronicles read. Of all the entries, the one read aloud described how Mordecai had once uncovered a plot to assassinate the king. The king asked, "What honor has been given to Mordecai?" None. At that very moment, Haman entered the court, planning to ask permission to hang Mordecai. The king asked him, "What should be done for the man the king delights to honor?" Haman assumed it was about him.
He described royal robes, a royal horse, a public parade. The king said, "Excellent. Do that for Mordecai the Jew." The reversal had begun. Haman was forced to lead Mordecai through the city, proclaiming honor over the man he planned to kill. Providence. At the second banquet, the king again asked Esther her request. This time, she spoke. "If I have found favor in your sight, let my life be granted me for my wish, and my people for my request. For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed."
The king was stunned. "Who is he? Where is he?" Esther pointed. "The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman." The room froze. Haman panicked. The king stepped out in fury. When he returned, Haman had fallen on Esther's couch, begging for his life. It appeared as assault. The king ordered him executed on the very gallows he built for Mordecai. The decree of destruction could not be revoked under Persian law, but a new decree was issued. The Jews could defend themselves, and on the day that was meant for annihilation, they stood, they fought, they prevailed. Sorrow turned to celebration, mourning to joy. That deliverance became the Feast of Purim, a reminder that hidden providence can overturn visible evil. Esther saved her people. But remember, no one knew her secret. For years she lived with hidden identity, and when the moment came, revealing it meant risking her life. Courage is costly. She could have remained silent. She could have reasoned, "I am safe. I am secure. I did not create this problem." But she understood something deeper. Position is not privilege alone. It is responsibility. Influence is not protection alone. It is assignment. Esther teaches us that silence can be betrayal, that comfort can be complicity, that crowns are not merely for decoration, they are for decision. She was a queen, but before she was queen, she was an orphan. Before she was powerful, she was powerless. Before she was visible, she was hidden. And the hidden years prepared her for the visible moment. Many people want the platform. Few are ready for the cost. Esther's courage was not loud. It was deliberate. 3 days of fasting, one step into the throne room, one sentence at the right time. History shifted. The book of Esther never mentions God by name, but it shows him orchestrating details. A beauty contest, a sleepless night, a misplaced honor, a prideful villain. Sometimes God works most powerfully where he seems most invisible. Esther's story asks a question across centuries. Where have you been placed for such a time as this? In your family, in your business, in your city, in your generation. What injustice have you noticed? What silence have you maintained? What fear has kept you seated when you should stand? She was a queen, but her true crown was courage. She risked rejection. She risked death. She risked everything so others could live. And in doing so, the orphan of exile became the deliverer of a nation. Her name means star, and in one of history's darkest nights, she shone. Not because she sought power, but because she chose obedience. She was a queen, and when the moment came, she revealed her secret, stepped into danger, and saved her people for such a time as this. And that changes everything.
If this story has blessed you, please consider subscribing. May God richly bless you.